My 100 WFH job turned into a 100 in-office job, on my dime. I was hired as a remote employee. There was no corporate office anywhere near my home. I would have to fly several states over to get to one. The agreement was once a quarter I would fly into HQ and meet with the team, but the rest of the time I would be remote. I even took a small salary cut for this, which was worth it for me. My fiancé found a job out of state and somewhere we wanted to move to anyways. I told my boss we were moving. And it wasn't an issue because I was still in the same time zone and had easy airport access. I was aware of a new factory coming online in the region one was planning to move to and told my boss if he wanted to pay relocation I could work there. Of course the answer was no. And that I would not have to go in there ever. January 2023. Hey, could you swing into new factory this week? There's some new equipment landing and we don't have the staff. Sure. I'll take one for the team, it's only 30 minutes drive. May would be great if you could be on site occasionally. Lots going on. Still a remote employee, though. August, we need you on site 2 days a week. Can you do that? November, we don't understand why you aren't on site 5 days a week. You live in the area. We all have to go into an office these days. When I asked why the company didn't pay to relocate me when I gave them the chance, things changed. We didn't know how much we'd need your help. I complained that I had spent thousands of dollars to move us. Plus more than a week's vacation time. Had to now drive 200 miles a week. Had to find somewhere to board my dog during the day and had to reschedule my twice-weekly PT appointments which were due to an injury suffered at work. He shrugged and said we all have to make sacrifices. I'd find another job, but the pay-to-effort ratio is very high, so I'll just stick it out a bit more. The answer to we all have to make sacrifices is this: I did make a sacrifice. I took less money to work from home. I was specifically hired for a 100 remote position. If you need me in the office 5 days a week, please let me know when we can set up time to renegotiate my compensation and benefits to reflect that change. Actually, as remote, I hope you are logging you miles and submitting. Point out they pay you remote rate and in office now costs X. Don't go in. If they don't pay, you gave an inch. You know the rest. Well, if you took a pay cut to WFH, then demand that shit back. That sucks. Did you get anything in writing to say that you are a remote employee? If not, then it's time to find another job. Tell them one very difficult word to use, sometimes number. I would put an all stop to going in. You have an increase in costs now that your company has a responsibility to compensate you for. They are asking for a change in working structure and they should be expected to pay for it. There is so much of this right now, where it was 100 remote. And then they're trying to drag people back into the office to prop up their real estate holdings. It's a bunch of nonsense. This happened to me with a job I took about 2 years ago. I specifically took this job over other jobs because it was a 100 remote. Well, 8 months later they say we want you in the office 5 days a week starting in the new year. Because of NYC, this would an extra $400 to $500 per month. So between that and the extra cost of health insurance that they made, I had to leave. So really it depends. If you find another job that is remote, will the pay difference equal to you going into the office? Or can you find a higher paying job that is 2-3 days in the office? You gave an inch, so they took a mile. Loose lips sink ships. Never volunteer information. Things changed. We didn't know how much we'd need your help. My response: things change, and since I'm so needed, my compensation has changed to reflect my need. 1. Tell your boss you are moving to another location as your partner has now taken a job as an oil worker on the North Slope of Alaska. 2. Find a Redditor in Alaska to allow you to use their address for a small monthly fee. Since your offer letter says remote, I'd stick to that and make them let me go. They said themselves that they need you. So hopefully it'll take a while. ITMT find a new job. He shrugged and said we all have to make sacrifices. I'm glad you understand. I'm sure the extra $100K per year won't be that big of a sacrifice in your personnel budget. I expect to see documentation by next pay period. I'll stop. Do not go in anymore. Find it in writing your original job, and continually email that to them. Tell them the terms of the contract they signed do not change because they invested in real estate. The frog in boiling water analogy comes to mind with this story. Your first mistake was telling them you were moving. Unfortunately, not a unique scenario at all. So many companies are doing this now. Stick with it for now, but start rapid firing your resume to actual remote jobs. The old bait and switch. Time to go to another remote position, my friend. They're not gonna stop. They don't seem to be willing to see your side. So I expect if you stand your ground, they'll push you out 'cause they've decided what they want already. I could be wrong. But until you have an offer, they've got the leverage, sadly. I'd find another job, but the pay-to-effort ratio is very high, so I'll just stick it out a bit more. You sadly answered your own question. Sounds like they need to reverse that pay cut you took to be remote. Please, for the next job, do not offer to do anything you do not want to do. If you were hired remote and want to be remote, never ever say you can go in. This goes for tasks, titles, jobs, even social media friends requests, personal cell numbers, etc. Create the boundary the first time. Don't know your location or financial situation or how special your skill set and industry is, but as you said, the pay to effort is still high, so stick it out. Just find other ways to get back your lost time. Like sleep in when you WFH. Take a nap on company time. Work a little slower. Watch something enjoyable while you work, little stuff to take back the time that they've stolen from you. Job market is looking a bit tough in higher pay fields, so maybe not rock the boat until you have another job lined up. Why don't you just say no? Not going to lie, May is where I would have drawn the line. But I've grown ornery and cantankerous in my old age, just turned 30 LMAO. Telling your boss too much is the problem here. I don't even tell people why I'm out of work. Just taking the day off is the exact amount of information my employer needs to know. I'd find another job, but the pay-to-effort ratio is very high, so I'll just stick it out a bit more. And that's why they keep doing it. That right there. If you actually want to pursue this, you'll need to find an employment lawyer. ID file for a lunch stipend mileage reimbursement, and backdate it for all your previous times. And this is why you shouldn't have told them where you lived. Being flexible and helpful just gets you more work. My boss did this. I went in twice and immediately realized that wasn't for me. I just called him up and said I'm sorry, but coming into the office is not something I'm willing to do. If this is required from the job, it's just not going to work out. I figured they would fire me, but instead, they found a new remote position in the company that paid me more.